Okay, we're rolling.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Wow, here we go.
Yeah, this is our first podcast, Trav.
We've been talking about this for a long time.
Yeah, we've been having conversations for years. And one day you said, you know what? We need to record this.
Yeah.
So,
These need to be recorded for sure.
yeah. So every time we get together, we get into a deep conversation, and you said, there should be a podcast.
This should have been on the podcast. Well, cheers.
Cheers. Yeah. So tonight we're drinking Bullet Bourbon.
Bourbon.
Yeah. And
Old-fashioned mix.
the little fashion mix, and
Delicious as always.
it's good. So this is our tradition, and here we go. So what's been going on?
Well, I was just thinking before we started, we need to come up with the good tag at the beginning. So I'll be thinking about that.
So the cover art was a process. I used AI, and you know, I'm an old man, so I'm just kind of getting into AI. So
Not too old to use AI.
Chat GPT. Actually, old people could probably benefit from it more than young people because it kind of does everything for you.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I asked it to create some podcast cover art, and boy, I went through so many alliterations of that. It was just, it was doing all kinds of things, but I mean, it was pretty accurate. But what do you think of the cartoon characterizations of us? Do you think they look like us?
Yeah, my first instinct was that we look like woodworkers. Well, there's the button-up shirts and the beards. I
Maybe.
noticed that the photo you used must have been when I didn't have a beard.
It was when you didn't have
Because I
a
was
beard.
clean shaven, which ironically I'm clean shaven now too.
You sure are.
But-
Yeah, but not always.
That's
Not-
for my lovely wife, who does not like a beard. She does
Really?
not prefer a beard. No, not even. I mean, she likes a little bit. She doesn't mind a shadow or anything.
Yeah.
But notice this since she said it. But my mustache area, my hair grows straight out like spikes. I thought for years that she was just kind of exaggerating.
Yeah.
But she might be onto something there.
Yeah, that
Is
could
that-
be pretty painful
Yeah. So
for her.
exactly. Yeah, she doesn't enjoy the kisses when I've got I would say 5 days or more of the
Yeah.
beard going. So that's kind of my thing is once a week I'll either trim or shave completely. Usually I just shave completely.
As opposed to me, who has had a beard since I graduated from high school.
I've seen you a few times without a beard.
Well,
It's
I
very
had
rare.
I
Twice in my life. So
I had a few moments, and
You don't think you have a chin, right? You're self-conscious of
oh no, it's not that. It's just that I mean, I used to be a really good-looking guy, but
Yeah, you got the square jawline going
yeah.
on.
But then when we started traveling, and I guess people will find out more about us. But I used to be in a Christian band back in the '70s, back in the Jesus movement, and
Kinfolk.
kinfolk. And so we grew our beard, and then we started traveling, and we started playing to these churches, and there were a lot of churches that didn't really know what to do with us because back then, you didn't have drums and electric guitars and stuff like that. So, but we were pretty harmless, and we were an acoustic band, and people didn't really like our look too much because, you just didn't see, I mean, that was considered a hippie, kind of look. And so
And that was here in Jacksonville.
I was here in Jacksonville, but then we traveled up and down the East Coast for about 6-7 years. And we'd go into these churches. And after we sang, we would kind of win the people over because, like I said, we weren't hard rockers or anything like that. And we were very sincere about what we were doing. So, but one time after we had moved to Winter Haven, we moved to Winter Haven for about a year, and we moved into a big house together. And we were part of a street ministry called the Upper Room. They had a guy's house and a girl's house, and then they had our big house, which became known as the Kinfolk House, which housed everybody in the band, 2 married couples and several single guys, and so we kind of got to know the people in the area. So we would just walk into churches. We didn't have any marketing strategy. We didn't have agents. We didn't have a record company. None of
Did
this.
you have an appointment?
No, not
just
even an
walked?
appointment. Yeah, we just walk into the churches.
Wow. Of
And
course, this is the 70s, so there's no cell phones. There's phones.
yeah, it wasn't the industry that it is today. It wasn't even an industry, So we were just, seeing where we could go in and play our music. And so there was this church, First Assembly in Winter Haven, and there was a pastor. His name was Quentin Edwards, and he had just come off the mission field after about 35 years or something, and he was pastoring this church. and he was new there. So he was kind of feeling things out himself, you know. And one day I just walked into the office and I had this big burly black beard at the time, you know, and longer hair. And I just asked the secretary, now this doesn't happen today, but I asked the secretary, could I speak to the pastor? Is he in? And she said, oh yes, he's right in his office. Just go right in. I walked right into his office, and he was very nice and kind. And you know, I sat down, and he said, "What can I do for you?" And I said, "Well, I said we have this band, you know, called Kinfolk. We have this." You know, this ministry, we would love to come and sing at your church sometime. And he says, well, brother, you know, he said, I like you. I like your spirit, but I don't think people would go for that beard around here.
And that's here in Jacksonville.
No, that was in Winter Haven.
Oh, in Winter Haven.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I said, really? And he said, no. He says, and I'm new here, so, you know, I don't want to stir the pot too much, you know. So,
And that must have just been a church thing because people had beards in the 70s.
yeah.
Plenty of them had
Oh, yeah. Yeah. A lot of hippies, the counterculture, that kind of thing. But I don't know if it was you know, and I'm sure that some people in the church had beards, but I don't know. It was just the general way that we looked. We were young.
the culture at the time.
It was kind of imposing, I guess, in a certain kind of way, although I didn't realize it and I wasn't trying to be. But anyway, I said, so if I didn't have this beard, we could sing at your church? And he says, well, pretty much. And I said, okay, well, thank you for your time. And I went home and I shaved my beard completely for the first time since high school. And that was probably about 4 or 5 years I'd had it. So I shaved it completely. I was clean shaven, just like a baby's butt. And I walked right back into the church, into the office, and I said, hi, I said, is Pastor Edwards in? And she says, sure, go right in. And I walk in and I sit down and he says, hey, can I help you? And I said, yeah. I said, I was just here. I was the guy with the beard, and you said if I, you know, would shave my beard, I could sing at your church. And he sat back in his seat and he just roared laughing, and he says, brother, he said, come on. So we went to sing at the church.
Was that your first gig or?
No, we had had a number of gigs, but you know, it was still at a time when the churches were, you know, they had music ministers who had 4-year degrees, you know, who led hymns and had choirs, and you know they didn't have that format that they have now with the, and so it was kind of a rare thing. And then they had the gospel quartets who would come in. So we were kind of new, and we were just one of many people that were doing that. But anyway, we ended up having a nice, long, great relationship with that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It was fun. See how conversations start, how I can get rolling just talking about beards.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me think a couple of things. Number one, coming from if he'd been on the missions field for so long, I'm surprised that something like a beard would shake him, you know.
Mm.
But then two, I like how you just, you know, immediately removed it as a thing. Like, no problem, I can shave.
Yeah.
And then purposefully went back the same day. That's pretty cool.
And we sang at the church. And then by the next time we sang, I'd grown it back.
Really?
And he was fine.
He was good.
Yeah.
He was familiar with you at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Anyway.
Well, if only more people could have that attitude in life, you know,
Mhm.
instead of saying, I'm not shaving my beard. This is, you know, which you would be in the right,
Yeah.
you know. Is
Yeah.
it about being right, or is it about getting along
Yeah.
or accomplishing the goal
Yeah.
and putting your pride aside? So that's a
yeah.
good story. There's a lesson there.
There's a lesson there. I guess I mean, I didn't know the lesson at the time. I didn't even know I was, you know, as a matter of fact, there was probably a time when I would have said, you know, I'm not doing that, you know, but I don't know. For some reason, I just wanted to kind of test it, just to kind of see if he really meant that was the one thing that was keeping us from coming to their church.
Yeah. What happened if he recognized you the second time and said, no, you know?
Yeah. Got to cut your hair too.
Yeah, they had a little bit of code back then.
There was a lot of code to kind of get through.
Well, here we are on Saturday, May 24th, 2025, finally doing the first episode.
Yeah, and we've been talking about it for probably, what, 2 years?
Yeah, I think it's been a couple of years,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Evan, Toby, Juliet, anyone that I know, if you're listening to this way down the road, we're doing it for you.
Exactly.
Unless anyone else wants to listen too, which, you know, that's an option. That's a possibility.
We're going to put it out there. But, you know, the main reason we wanted to do this, Of course, people will find out as we go on, but we're father and son. I'm the father.
I'm the son.
You're the son. I'm 73. You mentioned you're 41.
And we've got a whole host of spirits here.
We do. And
Felt like we needed to add some spirits in with the father and son.
it always helps to kind of get things loosened up a little bit. And it's pleasurable. I've become a big fan of bourbon over the, I guess, past 4 or 5 years. But,
Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
You've become a little mixologist.
Well, I'm a wannabe.
You make a mean old fashioned. It's a good old fashioned.
Okay, let that go on record.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that in the books for posterity.
Kids, your grandpa could make a mean old fashioned in his day.
Yeah. When you're able to drink one, and if I'm still around, I'll be glad to sit down with you and have one. But tell everybody you're married, you got 3 kids. Tell them about.
Married for going on 17 years with 3 kids. Evan, my oldest, and then Juliet, my only girl. He just turned 14, and he's just going into 9th grade. Juliet is 11, going on 12. Just did all the graduations this week.
We sure did.
Yep, all 3 of them in 2 days. So all the kids passed, and we're real proud of them. And then Toby is our 3rd child, which is perfect because we're the Trices. So, but yeah, Toby's 8, and yeah, they're great, man. I'm real happy with the way my family turned out. You always wonder when you're younger, when you're growing up, when you're becoming a, young adult, what's my family going to be like? And kind of try to imagine it. For me, it's better than I could have imagined.
Yeah.
So super thankful. Not to say it's all perfect. We have lots of issues. We have lots of drama, lots of problems, but we face it all together. And that's kind of the core. And we've got a good family that loves one another, sticks together, and yeah, that's more than you could ask for. Yeah, they're amazing little human beings. I say little. Evan's about taller than me.
He is.
Yeah, I'm 6'2", and he's 14. Just turned 14 last week, and he's 6'2" as well. So,
and he's got this incredible long kind of reddish hair.
Yeah,
he's
been growing it for years now.
Man, it looks awesome. As a matter of fact, one of the teachers or something came out the other day and said, "Did anybody ever tell you look like Shaun White,
the snowboarder,
the
Olympic guy?" Yeah.
And then he looked up a picture and he says, "I kind of do."
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, and then Toby, my youngest, is growing his hair out too. And it all kind of started with Evan he did not like haircuts. Hated them. It just, sound of the buzzers bothered him, and he just likes having his long hair.
Yeah.
But now Toby's growing his out too, and his is down to his shoulders. So yeah, all 3 of my kids have long hair. Of course, Juliet has, long shoulder length hair too.
Toby's my little Beatle.
Yes.
Yeah. And he always said that I guess he got it cut. I don't know, last year sometime, and
had it 2 summers ago.
And they got it cut real short. And he didn't like it.
That was the summer of lice in the Trice house.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, we didn't mess around when that happened. We had lice on one of the kids, and then the second one started to show signs of it, and my wife and I spent hours in the bathroom with lice kits and combs and trying to eradicate it from the pillows and the beds. So for Toby, he was only like 6 years old, and his birthday was coming up, and we were going to Disney. I'm like, "All right, buddy, we're gonna shave your head." So he just shaved his head, and he looked great. Toby actually looks really good with short hair.
Well, he's a good-looking kid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's like a model. Yeah. But he was upset about it, and he said, "Papa," he said, "I want my Beatle hair back."
Well, he grew it back. He's been growing it for 2 years. That was the last haircut he had.
Yeah. As people will find out, I'm a big Beatles fan, so I got Beatles memorabilia all over our guest room and the office and everything. So, the kids are kind of grown up seeing that. So,
who would your top, I don't know, 3 bands be?
Oh gosh. Okay, so the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
Are the number 1, and I've got to say that because they're the group that inspired me to play the guitar. So I started playing when I was 13. It was 1964. So around February of 1964 is when they came to America, and
That was their first tour. Yeah,
Yeah, it was.
64.
Yeah, and uh, they appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show, and that's when they got the big national recognition. But anyway, yeah, my dad had uh, bought me a guitar or traded a guitar. Started playing the clarinet in elementary school, and I don't even know why. You know, I kind of lost interest, and it just kind of sat in a closet. And one day, my dad just grabbed it and apparently went to a music store and said, "I want to trade this in on a guitar." And so he got a guitar and a little, book by Mel Bay, and he brought it home. And he just walked into the room. He said, "Here, maybe you like this." And and it just sat in my room there for a while. I mean, I've always loved music, but it just sat there. And
How long did it sit there?
I don't know. It must have sat there for a few months anyway. And I really didn't show much interest in it. But anyway, I'd listen to the radio all the time. And just one day, just like thousands and thousands of other, teenagers, when they first came on the radio and we heard that sound, it was just kind of like, man, it was just like a light turn on. And I looked at that guitar and I picked it up and
That was it.
yeah, I was playing 2 weeks later and never a lesson and never, I mean, not that I didn't need them, wish I had taken them,
Yeah.
but, but anyway,
So the Beatles.
they inspired me. So the Beatles are number one. Oh boy. So number two,
I mean, you got Taylor, Springsteen.
I know. So if you're talking
You
about
got three
bands,
though. That's why I had at first I was gonna say five, but I'm like,
yeah.
you had to get it down to three.
If you're talking about bands, it would be the Beatles, the Eagles, and man, why can't I come up with a number three band
Or artists.
or
Yeah.
artist? Well, James Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Got to be James Taylor.
Okay. So the Eagles. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah, the Eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
I would have known they were your top three.
so incredible. They're such great musicians, songwriters, vocalists.
Mm-hmm.
They're just, they got it all. And if you ever saw them live, they just sound so much like the record, and it's all live. So no pads, no tracks. And the Beatles, of course, because, they just changed everything.
Yeah.
They changed everything.
Well, they're probably. If you just talk about music artists and success, they'd be up there, possibly at number one.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got like Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson that could contend for that, but it's hard to top the Beatles.
Well, if anybody, when people talk about the greatest band of all time, they're the ones that usually come up. There's some people that didn't like them. Of course, the Stones came around right behind them.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know why this is. Maybe it was because they were so different, but there's this whole thing that you were either a Beatles fan or a Stones fan, and you didn't really like both. And I suppose that was true with me because I didn't give Rolling Stones the time of day.
Really?
No, I don't know why. I guess because,
That was really the dichotomy back then. It's Beatles fans or
well,
Rolling Stones.
not intentionally, but it was just something that,
Beatles were more pop, weren't they?
yeah.
Stones were more rock.
Well, they were more blues, and I wasn't really into the blues. I was into more pop music. So that's probably it. So I listened to, the top 40 all the times. So yeah, I was into pop music and 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 I was just drawn to the songs, the writing, the vocals. There was always, I mean, I've always been this way, and even before I was a quote musician, I always heard all the different aspects of the music. I didn't listen to songs. I did listen to them as complete songs, and I could enjoy them that way. But then I would kind of in my mind be dissecting the guitar part and the bass part and listen to that drum part, and
Is that because you wanted to learn how to play it?
yeah, I don't know.
Would you do that a lot in the beginning? Hear a song and then commit to learning it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. That's always what drew me to play is I'd hear a song and then something in me just wanted to produce the same tune.
yeah,
So
yeah.
anytime I've picked up the guitar on and off my whole life, I don't tell anyone I play because I've just never committed enough to play like I needed to play. I've just played for fun here and there, doodled around, and then put it down, gotten busy, sold or lost a guitar. And
Yeah.
I don't think I ever lost a guitar. But I've had like 5 guitars in my life. For someone that doesn't play guitar, that's a lot of guitars.
Well, and you know more than a lot of people that just play around with it, you know?
Oh yeah, I could put chords together, but
Yeah.
beyond that, So, and I love to sing. Has been my favorite.
Yeah, you're a good singer.
And it's hard for me to play and sing. I've just never been able to marry the two, but I've also not really tried or practiced as much. I'm sure I could do it if I just put the time into it. The last 3 weeks, I've been playing a lot of guitar on Evan's guitar, like I've been telling you about. And you don't know this, but what was this, 2 days ago? This was like Wednesday night or Thursday night. I wanted to play an Allman Brothers song, Midnight Rider, I think is what it is. And I just wanted to play the beginning part. Yeah, that's it. I was just like, oh, I'll learn that a little.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. That's easy. I could figure that out.
That's a cool lick.
So I went to go pick up the guitar, which has been sitting in my office on the stand, because I realized I'm like, if I'm going to play guitar and commit to it, I live in that freaking office. That's where I work all day. And then when work is over, I just sit there and sometimes I'll boot up a game and play.
Yeah.
So I'm in the office a lot. So I'm like, the guitar needs to be near me. So I put it in the office thinking it would also be safe in here because I have a lot of animals. And wouldn't you know it, 2 days ago, I go to pick up the guitar to play that song, and the nylon strings are just shredded and torn and hanging and dangling. I think it was the cat.
Oh, the cat.
Yeah, because if it was the dog, we have a 9-month-old golden retriever that is a sweet girl. She's a good dog overall, but she's still a puppy and she gets into stuff. But I'm telling you, when Honey gets into stuff, she destroys it.
Yeah.
So if she wanted to, she could have destroyed that guitar. But this looked like the work of an assassin. This was Hiro.
Hiro.
Spelled Hiro, the Japanese Hiro.
Is that from the movie? What is that?
Big Hero 6.
Big Hero 6.
Yep.
Like, and Baymax is your boy.
Yep. Baymax is our dog. Honey Lemon is our other dog. Hiro is the cat. And then we had Gogo, which was the bearded dragon. So we were naming all of our pets after the characters of Big Hero 6.
Except for
and we
Craig.
almost had all of them.
Except for Craig.
Except for Craig. Donald, if you're ever listening to this, shout out to Donald, a mortgage lender I work with a lot, good friend of mine. He needed someone to adopt his crested gecko. Poor guy has lost his tail and he's blind, but he keeps scraping along.
Yeah. Does he walk around with a little cane?
He does not move fast. He moves kind of slow, but he's a sweet little lizard. I love him. But there'll be times when I don't see him. I feed him and I water, I do all that fresh water every day. But, they're nocturnal. And he's got this little log he likes to crawl into. And sometimes I don't see that cat for like 5 days, 6 days. And I'll be like, all right, we got to see if Craig's still alive. And I'll have to dig him out and find him.
Yeah.
He's usually down there somewhere.
Craig's gone missing in action a few times, hadn't
he? Yes, that's the cat's fault. The cat has destroyed the top of the terrarium twice. And then finally, I got the lid that he won't get through. Yeah, when he destroyed the terrarium, we thought that the cat ate him because this cat is decapitated cardinals, eats lizards all day long. My cat is half feral. We did not choose him. He chose us. A couple of years ago, he showed up on our back porch.
Yeah.
Needless to say, he's an indoor-outdoor cat, and we try to keep him in or out, and he won't stay in either. So we've just kind of given into this little terrorist of a cat. But my kids love him, and he's great with the kids. They carry him out around like a rag doll.
But now
he's like half feral, but the human side of him is like great. He's a great cat to humans, but he just hunts and kills everything, and he destroys things.
Yeah, but this is I keep thinking about, this is hurting my feelings now, because what happened to the guitar strings?
They got shredded. I think he got a claw stuck in it.
Yeah.
And just tore because the guitar is just still sitting there, no marks on it.
No marks on the
no damage on the wood, but the string is shredded.
Like one string?
Yeah. Well, I think another one got damaged a little bit too.
So he got caught up in it.
I think he caught a claw in it. Yeah. So,
Well,
I would have paid to see the footage of that. Maybe he was trying to strum.
man, he's trying to think alike. I was going to say,
Yeah,
maybe you heard the Beatles and it's
he's
like,
trying to play.
hey.
Dan, 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 and that cat scratch fever.
Oh, man.
So yeah, he's a handful. But
Well, so now you got to restring the guitar.
yeah, I need to find the nylon. I think it's like the
Oh, man.
third. Ironically, it's the one that kept going out of tune. And then part of me was like, has Hero been in here stretching my strings? And that's why it's always out of tune so bad? Because, every time I go to play it, I'll play it 12 hours apart and I come back and it's out of tune.
You know what? Maybe he was actually playing and then he went, that dang G string.
Pop the G string.
Maybe he got frustrated over it too. But yeah, nylon strings, that's a whole different thing. They string differently. They're put on differently than steel string guitars. So I might have to, if I haven't done it in a long time, but the guitar I was telling you about that I learned on was a nylon string guitar, just like the one that.
I'll get some new strings and I'll come over here next time and I'll be part of what we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
String a guitar.
Yeah. We'll have an audio stringing session.
There you go. That's what the people want.
That's right.
I went to my neighbor, Scott, the other day, who's also a guitar player. Shout out to Scott Thornton. We ought to have him on the podcast one day.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. But
we ought to have a lot of people on.
Yeah. Yeah. We got a third and fourth chair out here.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll just have to see how this mic does. This is the Blue Snowball, so we're testing it out today.
This is the test run, very first recording ever.
So we'll see how good it does. We'll see if it holds up to its reputation. But
how long you want to go tonight? How long have we been going?
I don't know.
What happens
until we drink down the old fashioned. Let's slow down
just time we have, folks.
Slow down a little bit.
I got a little bit left.
And
but I went to go see Scott, and Scott's got a Squire Strat and he said he's got like an amp in the attic.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, that's what I learned on. It was a Squire Strat. So and it's blue and white. I had a black and white Squire Strat.
With a little amp, and that was a good guitar. When I had a little recording studio up there in was it Charleston in Somerville, and I had that upstairs studio, and I had my recording equipment. I would
you used that.
I used that a lot, and it sounded good. And I played like a Strat. It was a good little guitar, and one of those things that they come in the packages. It's like with the amplifier and
a little Fender
strap and the 15-watt amp and all the accessories and picks and everything, and it was like I don't know, $200.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm gonna look into maybe getting a decent amp, and then.
Are you gonna get the Squire from me?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I'm just gonna borrow it.
Yeah.
But he's not playing it. It's just been sitting in his attic. Yeah. So I told him what I think the cat did to my acoustic. Because we jammed last week. We were trying to do some Stephen Wilson Jr. song.
Stephen Wilson Jr. So this is showing my age because I don't know who that is. By the way, if you hear the motorcycle or anything else,
crickets.
We were outside.
Chaos.
Yep, we're outside on my back porch.
Perfect ambiance, man.
Yeah, and this is where we've always had our conversations on the back porch. Now we lived in a house, a big house, for about 14 years.
It started at Crisp Drive? Is that where the back porch time started?
Did it?
Yeah, because I'm remembering the Bacon's Bridge back porch, and I don't think we were back there much. I don't think anyone was.
You left town for a little while during that time, but you came back
No, you know where it was? It was Gahagan. It was on Black Oak Boulevard.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was the first time we ever hung out on the back porch.
Yeah.
And started talking about the BP.
Yeah. And then we have continued those conversations all these years. And the house we were in, we used to live in the woods, not literally the woods, but it was the.
You always have to clarify.
Yeah, it was the name of the subdivision. And, but, it was private. It was, a single family home. And, never heard any noise to speak of. But 2 years ago, we downsized. And this was at your prodding and encouragement, that we needed to get out of the big house and downsize into a condo, simplify our lives.
Well, you had a monster yard. You were renting that house.
Yeah.
For a long time. Paid that house off for the owner, probably.
Yeah, we did.
And then.
Yeah, you're welcome, Charlie.
Yep. And Charlie's wife, if you're listening, well,
I love everybody. Let's don't go there.
Dad shaved his beard for
I'm
you.
gonna-
Let's put it
gonna-
that way. Mom and Dad put up with a lot, and
This part will
it was
be-
time to leave.
Yeah.
Because I love that house too, man. All the memories there. The kids grew up there.
Every single birthday, every single holiday event,
Y'all hosted.
yeah, everything was there, and it was hard to leave.
But we had bought the house in Winfield
Yes,
before you left the woods, and it was kind of like a handing of the torch or something.
exactly. Yeah.
So-
So now you host all of those events, and which is great.
But we ain't got that backyard.
Yeah, well, that's going to happen. But
Just $30,000 away from.
yeah,
The problem is, I don't know if anyone else is like this, but when I'll look at my backyard, which right now we live in a 2-story house that has a great backyard that actually backs up to the preserve. So there's just woods, and it's a thick patch of woods back there. It's not like a small tree line. There's a creek back there. There's all kinds of brush. There's open areas. If you look on it on Google Maps on the satellite, it's a big patch of woods. It's like one of the largest patches of woods in Northeast Florida. And it's just this random, area and on the south side. But back to my back area, I'll start with, and I'd really like to have a covered area shelter over here where we could put a picnic table and eat outside. But then I'll say, but it would also be nice to have jacuzzi back here,
Oh, yeah.
And then, but it would also be nice to have a real fire pit. We have a fire pit now that I made out of old paver bricks that we had left over from the pavers that we put in.
Yeah.
But I'm talking like a built-in, real deal fire pit.
Yeah.
And before you know it, like this vision you have is, in my estimation, going to be around 30 G's or so.
Mhm.
So now I just don't want to do anything until we do all of it.
Yeah.
So until then, though, we've got the little covered back porch area. We used to have the trampoline, got rid of the trampoline. And now I'm just trying to keep the grass alive back there. I always tell people I'm raising kids, not grass.
Yep, that you are. And but we got this nice little 2-bedroom condo now, and we've downsized about 1,200 square feet, which is really manageable. No more yard work. We have nice amenities.
No more pool work either.
No more pool work. We got a nice pool. It's just and it. You know what? We've been out here for how long?
I don't know, about 30
Yeah,
minutes?
oh, longer than that.
45?
Yeah. I don't know how long does it take to drink an old fashioned.
Mine's gone.
Yeah, mine's gone too. So yeah, so this is the first of, I hope, many recorded conversations that we're going to have going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to get deep. It's going to get wild.
Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time. So, we kind of talked about how we're going to approach it. And we talked about, subject matter, talking points, having it scripted a little bit more, that kind of thing. I think we decided right before we did this, let's just come out here and do what we do.
Yeah. That's
You
all
know?
it's been. I didn't have any notes
No.
prepared or,
No.
yeah. Which
Yeah.
maybe in the future, if there's something I want to talk about or something you want to talk about, we could
Yeah.
scratch it down and remember to, get into it.
Yeah. Well, we can definitely do that because, we both have a lot of history together. We both have, a lot of thoughts and, and experience and opinions and about all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So we'll always try to make it fun, even though it may get a little deep at times, we'll try to, keep it fun. And is this going to be a clean podcast?
Hell no.
It's got to be semi-clean.
It'll be semi.
Yeah, because the kids,
Yeah. They'll
Yeah.
be grown when they listen to this.
No, they're gonna, not if we start putting this out there on Spotify soon.
Yeah.
It'll be, but anyway,
We'll
I mean,
keep it professional.
yeah, I mean, we don't have to be, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but
Fair
anyway,
enough.
yeah, but anyway, it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it. So,
Yeah, me too.
yeah. Well, look, let's wrap this one up and let's say we did our first father and son podcast. Yeah,
We did it.
yeah, we did it.
Finally did it.
Yeah, I love you, man.
Love you, Dad. I'm curious to see how the mic did, the snowball.
Well, I sure hope it kept going.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, shit.
Hey, we're keeping it professional.
Yeah, but mine, it didn't
I can
record.
pee really bad.
Oh, stop. Okay, so it did.
Yay.
I'll be right back.